Welcome back. Let me briefly give you an overview of what we'll be covering in this course to prepare your mind ahead. The first thing is we're going to start with an introduction to web design using WordPress. And then we'll take a look at how do websites work exactly. This website that you just visit www.xyz.com and something comes up, how does it work? Then we'll take a look at how to buy your domain name and your hosting plan. For class 2, we'll be taking a look at the anatomy of a WordPress website, which means how are WordPress websites built. You will learn about the features of WordPress, you will learn what plugins are, what are WordPress themes, what are page builders, and you would overall explore the WordPress admin panel. Don't worry if this feels like a lot of English, you would enjoy it. The third class will talk about planning your website. Before commencing any website project, it is important to prepare your content. So that's what we'll be teaching you here. What content do you require for each kind of website? Because there are a whole lot of varieties when it comes to websites. And the fourth class will teach you, this is where we get very practical. It's practical from point one. However, from class 4 is when you start to actually build a site. We'll use the first 3 classes to prepare you to understand how to build any kind of site. And from the fourth class, we will start building one after the other. So we learn how to build a blog. Blogs like Linda Ikeji, how do they build these blogs that people read? Next, you'll learn how to build a corporate website. Corporate website are websites that companies use, businesses. How do you build that kind of a site? And next to that is how to build an e-commerce website. And finally, we'll be talking about website optimization. How do you ensure that your site is well optimized for mobile? How do you improve the performance of a website? How do you do a basic SEO? How do you ensure your site is secured? How do you do backups? It's packed, but not to bore you, we will just get right started. Started right. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. So this is an example of a website. In case just for any reason you are unfamiliar with what websites are, there are platforms that we visit every now and then. One of them, if you are in Nigeria, is Jumia.com, which is an e-commerce website that we shop for things from. Almost everyone probably has bought something on Jumia or knows someone. Another example of website is right here, which is Gigi. This is a slightly different kind of site from Jumia, but it is also a website and it's a platform that people list things and get them sold. Bet Niger. The reason why I put this particular site here is these are some of the most popular websites in Nigeria. In fact, they are the top 10 most visited websites in Nigeria. This is Bet Niger. It's also a betting platform that people visit on mobile, on web, and I know they should have a web app. The next thing is what makes up a website. This site that you just click on your keyboard, you press enter, and then images, text, videos load up. How does it work? Let's take a look at this illustration right here. Here's a guy, let's call him, let's not give him a name. Enters the URL www. Let's say facebook.com. On his browser, this is a browser right here. By browser, we mean those apps that you use in accessing websites such as Google Chrome, Safari, Opera, Firefox, and the rest. Those are browsers. When you do that, whenever you click on a URL, what happens is a request is sent to a web server. A web server is like a storage on the cloud, invisible, but it's there. That's where an individual like myself had built a site. I had uploaded the pictures, I had uploaded the text, I'd stored it on the server. And you come and you enter www.yemiajibade.com. A request is sent to my server, and then what happens is it supplies what you are requesting for. And that's when you start to see the content on that page. In summary, this is how website work. It's so simple. Someone on this end, before anything happens, someone has uploaded some content, some pictures, some designs on the cloud, on the server, and then another person comes with that URL, which is like the password to accessing that. That's how a website works. I thought I should clarify something in terms of what is the difference between a website and a web app. You will probably hear people use this interchangeably, but I will not have you confused about them. Let's take a look at their differences. A website, which is the one on the left, and this one on the right are web apps. A website is more content focused, which means it's pretty much to provide you content. Meanwhile, a web app or web apps are more functionality focused. Right below these boxes are some examples. On the left, I have Forbes, I have Zikoko Magazine, I have Allure, which are examples of website. If you visit Forbes, for example, pretty much what you'll find there are information. It doesn't do anything complex for you. You're just discovering and collecting information from them. Same with these two other sites. But on the other hand, a web app is more functionality focused, which means they are like websites that do things, complex things for you. An example is Bet Niger. On Bet Niger, you can say you want to place a bet. I want Nigeria to win. If Nigeria wins 2-0, this is the odd. It's a more complex kind of setup. The same thing with GG. You can also call them websites, but they are more of web apps because they are just accessed as a normal URL, but their built up is more complex. The other thing to note is websites are limited in interaction. You can't really do so many complex things. Unlike these platforms on the left, you can create an account, you can sign up, you can post your product on GG. I can post this phone, someone will buy it, someone will send me a text. High interaction. Third is the content is usually static or dynamic. Very few websites have dynamic content, but most websites are very static, just straight up, nothing complex. And the opposite is that web apps are more dynamic. They're usually more dynamic. And finally, is a website will rarely have you or need you to create an account to use it. If you visit Forbes, you really don't create an account to read the news. You don't need an account to create or to read news on Zikoko and the rest. But on these platforms, to enjoy them, most times we even use them, you need to have an account. So this is a summary of the difference between both. All right. That said, websites come in different shapes and sizes. What do I mean? The website that if I were a consulting company, the kind of site I need is not the site that you will need if you are selling bags. We will need different kind of sites. So websites are different. The first type of site we have are corporate website. As the name says, it's for corporate entities, businesses, services. What does it do? Majorly to share information. You want to let people know what that company does. And you also want to show that the fact that they are professional. It's also used to collect leads. In the process of showing people what you are about, some people can reach out to you and work with you. That's a corporate site. Next, we have blogs or media website. You can call it a blog, period. You can call it a blog website. They are all semantics. What blogs do is to allow people consume written or visual content. Example are news blogs, gossip blogs, news website like Punch, Forbes, Linda Ikeji blog, and a whole lot of them. Next are e-commerce websites or what people call online store. These are strictly for selling and processing payments. Let's say you sell this phone holder right here. You need an e-commerce website for such a thing. Even Instagram doesn't pass for e-commerce. The fact that we do transaction on it doesn't make it an e-commerce platform because it doesn't accept payments. And for commerce to happen, there needs to be an exchange of payments and products. So that's what e-commerce are, e-commerce website. And finally, we won't go into this, but we'll be dealing with three types of website, and these are the three: corporate, blog, and e-commerce. The reason is if you can design a corporate, if you can design a blog, if you can design e-commerce, you can build any other kind of site. So we'll not be touching on this, but just to give you an idea of what a portfolio site is, it's used to showcase creative work. So if I were a graphic designer, this is the kind of site that I will build because my work is more about showing images, creativity. People want to see what I've done. Can you see that that's different from, I don't need to collect payments on such a site. I don't need to sell anything. What I'm selling are the images, the stunningness of my product. Now, what do you require to build a website? I think that's a good question, right? Yes. Here are the main things you require to build a website. First is what is called a domain name. Let's call your domain name your address. It's like your house address, which if anyone wants to find you, they need to come to that place. Just like you saw in the illustration earlier, it is when you visit the right URL that the content can be loaded. If there is a slight error, even in alphabet, you won't get the content. It will tell you an error has occurred. The second thing you need, or second and third, is a hosting plan. A hosting plan is like your storage. You are buying storage in the cloud to store your website details. That's what it is. And they have it in different sizes. The next thing you need is an SSL certificate. This is, let's call it a certificate that tells people that your site is safe to be used. It is that little dot that you see on screen. So let me show you. Okay, look at this site, for example, Vimeo. You can see that little dot right here on the top left, like padlock sign. That's what happens when you have SSL. The alternative is if you don't have it, they would flag your site as dangerous. And the third thing you need is a WordPress template. I'll speak to that later on. And the final thing is you need content to build sites, whether the write-ups, the images, the links, the contact, you need information. All right, then let's take a look at Introduction to WordPress. You know, this course promises to teach you how to build website using WordPress, which is a platform that tells you that there are other ways to build website. But why WordPress? Just for definition, WordPress is an open source content management system. That's what it is, which means a piece of content has been designed and you are just moving it around, you are reshaping it, you are molding it. It's popular tool for individuals that want to build website without coding, and that's why it's everyone's favorite. Just to tell you how reliable WordPress is, because there are people who have the opinion that WordPress is a lesser or less complicated way of building sites, or let's say a small boy way of building site. That is very far from the truth. Why? Because WordPress as of today powers more than 45%. Actually, this is a later data, it would have increased 45% of the entire website in the world. If a platform is powering close to 50% of the entire website in the world, how reliable can that be? If that's not reliable, then what's reliable? And there are over 60 million websites that have been built using this same platform, which means you are in good hands. Don't let anybody make you feel, when I started designing, people would say like, oh, WordPress is this, is that. CNN, until I don't know if they've changed it, CNN was built on WordPress. Linda KG blog was built on WordPress. It still is. I don't think they've custom coded it. If they have, maybe mine. So most of your favorite blogs that you visit in Nigeria are built on WordPress. So WordPress is a solid platform. All right. The next thing that I will be showing you is how to buy your domain name and hosting. Remember, when talking about the requirements of building a site, that's the first thing. You need your URL, your domain name. Let's call it your address. We need to buy you a house in the cloud so that when anybody is looking for you on the internet, they can find you. Exciting? All right, so let's do that. The first thing is I will tell you the two types of hosting companies there are. There's what we call foreign hosting service providers. So the companies that sell this thing called domain name, example is www.yemiajibade.com. I will use that a lot in this class. Is so they have companies who retail those domain name and hosting. That's what they are called, hosting service providers, and there are a whole lot of them. But these are just a few that you can explore. When it comes to foreign hosting, which means hosting companies that are international, let's call them international. Bluehost, very reliable. very premium, expensive, but their service is wonderful. They're just I think they're about the most expensive. And the following one is GoDaddy, which you have probably heard about. They've been around for long. They're in the UK. And the third is Namecheap, which has been my go-to platform for over 5 to 6 years now. And I've not had a need to change them. Not until dollar became 130, 1013. I'm reconsidering my options. But Namecheap is fantastic. I'll tell you more about hosting. And we also have Amazon Web Services. Amazon also has that service where they sell these things. And we also have Nigerian hosting service providers that are local, which means you get to pay in Naira, for example. You don't need to worry about paying in dollars. So you can consider that option. Now, in case you want to buy your own hosting or domain name, we'll be buying two things, hosting or domain name. What do you need to look out for? Just in case you can't see all these ones. What makes a good hosting service provider? The first is their uptime rate. This is like how many times did they get light. Some areas they have light like 24 hours in a day, some have 30. That's the same way this thing is with hosting companies. Sometimes some hosting service providers have downtime, which means their server is down, and once that happens, every site built on them also comes down, or maybe it experiences some issues, which is why you need a site that has a great uptime. How do you know which site? You can Google, do your research. People would have done tests on these things and published. So do your findings and find out. I can personally recommend Namecheap. I can recommend GoDaddy, Bluehost. These are all very solid, like the top of the top. There are a whole lot, but these four are solid. You don't have an uptime problem. The second thing is their loading speed. Some platform actually have cracked it. Like, they are it's a very little time difference in terms of the loading speed. It can be a millisecond, but it adds up. Some hosting platforms, maybe because of their data center location, that's like where their server is located. I told you that GoDaddy is located in the UK, which means Nigeria is somewhat closer to the UK, which means they are if you buy hosting from them, there may be a very slight chance that it's faster than a company whose data center is in the US that is like 20 hours away from here. The other thing which is important, I think I should even put this point first, is their customer service experience. Please, before buying from anyone, I would recommend the one to use for this course, but just in case you want to explore, do your findings, check what people are saying about them. Customer service in the sense that there are times when I've built site for clients and then this site go down, maybe something happened, there's an error, there's just an error code, and immediately I reach out to these guys. That's Namecheap. Now I'm going to talk about Namecheap. There hasn't been a time that Namecheap hasn't successfully helped me rectify my problem, no matter how complicated it is. In fact, there are problems that I would feel that this is not their responsibility because they just sold me a name. It's like someone selling you a car, and after 5 years, you are coming to say, and the tire has eaten, or the radio is not playing again. You've been using it for so long that has the warranty has probably expired, but these guys have wonderful support. You can chat with them live, and that's what makes them great. They don't need to tell you, send an email. They immediately, you are chatting with the person, they're asking you for what's wrong, you show them, they are helping you. So I highly recommend Namecheap. I've used it, a lot of designers use them. This the third thing is currency. Like I told you, even I am considering moving some of our websites to Nigerian platform right now because it's a far cry from where we started from. I bought dollar, just last year at less than 500, or over a little over 500, and now that's 1.3. That is a whole lot. Sometimes, we're spending $50 per year renewing some site. That's 50,000 naira per site. It's a lot. So if you want to consider currency, you might want to just go for Nigerian hosting company. A friend recommended Q servers to me very recently, and she says they are very reliable. That her husband also used them, who is a designer too. So you might want to check. I know Who Goes has been around for a long time. They also have a name in the Nigerian service. You can explore either of them. Smart web has also been around, frankly. That's why I didn't put too many. I just put those that I know have a good service. And the third thing, fifth, is ease of use. So sometimes you might need to do some things on your hosting page. Is it easy to navigate? Their user interface. Some are more complicated to use than the other, and that's the truth. And finally, what are the features of this hosting company? Does it offer you, for example, Namecheap? If you buy a hosting plan, they can allow you, their minimum hosting plan allow you to host 3 different websites on it, which means you are getting value for money, like 3 for 1. Not every platform offers such, so you need to check out their features, see what they offer and what can favor you, right? All right, that said, this course is going to be practical. I just had to break this down for you first of all to get familiar with the background. I don't just want you designing something without knowing the ideology behind it. I want you to be a very solid and professional web designer by the end of this program. That's my personal goal, and I'm rooting for you. So let's get down to the practical side of buying our first domain name and hosting.